Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today we wanted to do a quick review impressions of a knife, part of the pass around. This is the Ochs Worx design knife. This is called a Lontra EDX. This is in the Purple Haze Fat Carbon. It's designed by, I believe it's Ed Ochs, or I'm not exactly sure his first name. I wish I knew off the top of my head, but I know it's Ochs Worx. Ochs Worx is the company that he has, and he's a custom knife designer, which is really cool. And this is part of his production line. This is actually OEM by Riot. Really cool, great manufacturing standards. The materials. Let's talk a little bit about the material. So it's a titanium frame lock with purple fat carbon or Purple Haze Fat Carbon inlays, titanium mill deep pocket carry clip. You're gonna get about yay deep. It's not fully hidden, but pretty deep. It is nice and rounded all the way around, nice and chamfered. A little edgy there, but not terrible. Not terrible. It's not going to be cutty. Would like it to be a little more rounded for long-term use, right? Thumb studs are way low, but they do work, believe it or not. They do, and it is a front flipper, as you can see. Nicely centered. It's got a back spacer with a little lanyard pin, so that's cool. It is titanium, so it has a little it has a little bit of flexibility. Ooh, that's kind of tight. We'll have to try that in the pocket and see how that goes, but I'll do that. We'll do a quick test. Why don't we just test it right now? I will just test it, so I can tell you absolutely. Okay, it goes in and out of the pocket pretty decently. It is pretty tight, but it has a nice rounded, so it goes in and out well. If you have jeans, it'll pop over that part of the jeans where it's folded over and stitched. Looks like all T8 hardware all the way around. Looks like there's maybe a slight purple anodization on the screws and the pivot collar. It looks to me like it's got a purple haze to it, so that's really cool. But all this is titanium, so let's see. Thumb studs are down low. Let's see how that works. Works pretty well. As you can see, it's a frame lock. I don't know if he considers this a bolstered frame lock because, you got the inlay covering it. Not really all the way, but it is a pretty thin frame lock bar, so it would allow for maybe a reverse flick. You do have chamfering on the frame lock there. No cutaway, but it is chamfered on both sides, so relatively okay to get to. It's a little tight. It's a pretty thick blade. There is no weight relief because I guess the idea is the inlay is the weight relief, but pretty heavy duty. This is a pretty thick bar, and I would have to, if this was my personal life, I would have to tune this to make it a little bit lighter because it's pretty hard and it would not be very fidgety after a while. I can tell you that. So that's interesting. The front flipper, works fairly well. It's a small knife, and I think it's more handy for smaller hands. It's not very convenient for large hands. Okay, so if you got smaller than large hands, probably a little more convenient. I don't find it very fidgety, very comfortable. The thumb stud does work, but the thing about it is the thumb studs are absolutely in the cutting path. So if you're trying to cut through something, this is going to be absolutely in your way. So just know that. Reverse flicking seems to work okay. Let's see, can I reverse flick this? Okay, so you have to go up high. Yeah, you have to go up high. It's very small, so to me that's very challenging, being so small. So the flicking for a left-handed small is challenging. It is reversible for lefty, so it can be left-handed. You see that? It's a little insert that's right there where the milled pocket carry clip would go on the left-hand side, so it could be left-hand tip up. So lefties rejoice, but it is small. Now, to its credit, it has a finger choil. It's not a giant finger choil, so if you got big meaty fingers, you got to be careful and choke back because it can easily get too close to that edge. It's made for small, skinny little fingers, right? And even with the finger choil, I'm at 4 fingers. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of room. If you got extra large, double extra large hands, you're going to be over. You're going to be down here. If you try to hold it back here, I'm already all the way over. I'm at 3-finger grip right here, maybe 3.5, 3.25 right here. So it's really, really small. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like the size. I'll be straight up with you. It's for my hand size, this is not cool. The jimping is nice. It goes pretty far, so it's very functional jimping. I like that. It's got a nice swedge. I do like that. It almost gives it a sort of a sheep's foot kind of look, or a spear point look, or a drop point. I don't know what you want to call this. This almost gives it like a pseudo modified sheep's foot with a belly, which makes it a drop point. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it. It's probably modified something. Let's see. What is Ed Ochs call it? Does he say it? Does he say what kind of blade it is? Yeah, I don't really see it there. Okay, so I don't really have a sense of what he feels the blade shape is. I would call this like a modified sheep's foot drop point, spear point. I don't know what. It's interesting. It's a unique blade shape, right? So, but you know, it's got a big belly, flat grind, comes down to a fairly okay thin edge. I mean, it's not super thin. It's not a slicer. Pretty sharp. It's not bad. It's got a very, you know, it's not a long edge. It's a short edge. So you're probably at a good, I'm going to guess 22 degrees, somewhere around there. So, you know, it'll have a strong tip, but it won't be a real slicer, you know, and there's that. The action's pretty good. I mean, it's a shake shut. It's not going to be a drop shut. It's not very smooth. Again, I would tune that if I was if this was to be a knife I purchased and keep. It's small. It's difficult to flip, and I find that I fail that too much. And then when I don't get it right, it digs into my finger and it's uncomfortable. So I think smaller hands are really going to enjoy that. So I will just say that. The way it closes, it's the frame lock. Again, not a really great cutout. It does drop. It could catch there. I mean, that's okay. So there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and measure this guy. Yeah, we'll do the weight first. I believe that's usually what we do. So what do we got? We're at 3.48 ounces, about 3.5 ounces, so 3.48 ounces. Let's see what the measurement is overall. All right, where is my ruler? Where are you? There you are. Okay. All right, so we're looking at a knife, overall length, that's about 6 3/4 of an inch, very short. Let's look at the grip back here. If you're like this, you're about, I want to say, realistically, you're about 3 1/4 inches. If you use the finger choil, you might get 4 inches, maybe. The blade, the tip to the top of the handle, we are definitely under 3 inches. I'm going to say 2 7/8. If you look at the cutting edge, you're like about 2.5 inches. So fairly small EDC. It'd be maybe a 5th pocket kind of knife. So yeah, there. All right, let's talk about the blade stock thickness. I'm going to stand it up like this so we can have a little bit of action, or a little bit of access to it. And let's see what we got. So blade stock thickness, we're looking at 131 thousandths of an inch, 132 thousandths of an inch. So it's 0.13 inches. You know, it's not super thin. For such a small knife, it's pretty thick. It's, you know, it's got a hardy blade, definitely going to be tough to use. The tip is pretty robust, so nice pokey kind of tip. You can get into dog food, cat food, cases of water, mulch, fertilizer, whatever you need to get to. I mean, very useful in that regard. I struggle with the ergonomics. I struggle with the choil. I struggle with the size. I struggle with the axis. I just got to be straight up with you. So with all that is challenging. Now this knife comes in at $280, so it's definitely in the regular realm, but it's in the high area of regular realm. At $280, that's a lot for what you get for a small knife. I mean, it's cool materials, purple fat carbon. It is Riot made. It is, I believe, M390. Yeah, M390 blade steel. I mean, so there's some nice quality things there, right? For sure. Now, is this EDC? Yeah, it could be definitely EDC. I mean, is it hard use? It could be relatively hard use for what you would carry a small knife for this purposes. So I'd say, yeah, maybe. Is it a collection piece? For some, it absolutely could be a collection piece. Not really a collection piece to me, but I know for some people, this would absolutely be a collection piece. Some people really like this aesthetic. I'm not quite connecting to it. So it's different. It just doesn't ergonomically function for me. I mean, I like things that look cool. Man, if you don't have the ergonomics and the action, as cool as it looks, it deflates me, right? It makes me lose my enthusiasm. And that's really what I'm struggling here with, is that, okay? So the design, overall design, I like the concept of design. I like the finger choil. It's just a little small, right? I like the idea of the roundedness of the shape, the contour, that works well, but it's got sharp edges. It's just kind of, I mean, for a knife this, why not round these? This just feels like a miss, right? And then you got, you know, you've got this very, very thick lock bar. I mean, either make this a little smaller or something, but so thick, and it's hard to get to. There's no really cutaway. And I mean, it is a strong lock bar, right? So yeah, I mean, the action, it's a you got to shake it to close it. It's not like drop shut. You know, I might put, if I was my knife, I would put skiff washers in there, and if they're already in there, I would maybe make sure that the pivot is not overly tightened, or you know, the detent is not as crazy strong. That works. The front flipper works if you can get it just right because of how strong that detent is. If you miss that, it's going to hurt. And I've done it where I've missed, I go a little high and it just digs into my finger. Or if I go a little low, it just rubs and rips away. So it's you know, at this strength of detent, it's a very specific spot you got to hit. It's very, very specific. You got to know, see, I just missed it. That hurts the knuckle. So, you know, jeez. Okay, so I can't do the front flip like I did earlier because once you miss it, it just makes everything tender. So that being said, for the size of the knife, I struggle with that. I just got to be honest with you. So fidget factor scale, you got the front flipper, you got 2 thumb studs, and that's what you have, and that's really it. Thumb studs work, just horribly placed. The front flipper works if you get it just right. So, I mean, honestly, the fidget factor, for having multiple fidget factor, my finger, did I rip the skin off? Fidget factor, this one's going to be low. I'm going to give it maybe a 4. And that's me only because it has 2 forms of fidget factor. And that's a 4. Now, fidgety goodness, I hate to do this, but this is like a D, 65. I'll give it a 65. I can't even give it a C. I don't think it's okay. To me, it's not okay for my size hand for this. Now, if you got smaller hands and your ergonomics work, maybe it's just because I got meaty fingers, maybe skinny fingers or different longer fingers. I don't know. Maybe it works better. But for my hand size, I don't care for it. I don't care for how strong the detent is. I don't care for how sharp this is and how you have to just get that leverage just perfectly and it's tight. You can't multiple deployment. So fidgety goodness on this, I mean, it's a 65. That's the best I can do. It's not, I mean, it doesn't fail because it works, but man, it's uncomfortable. It's really begrudgingly uncomfortable. So yeah, overall final thoughts. Is it recommended? Well, I mean, you can imagine with all those factors. I mean, it's great quality knife. If you love it, buy it. Buy it if it fits your hand. If it's your ergonomics, you have smaller hands or hands that can work with smaller items like that more naturally, you've got big meaty fingers like mine, go for it. Buy the knife you like. If you love it, do it. I'm just telling you, for my hands, for my ergonomics, I cannot recommend this knife. Not at all. It's just not comfortable. There's so many little things that miss on here that make this so uncomfortable for the price that I'm paying. There are far better options out there. Quite frankly, Spyderco made in the USA is far better than this experience. And you know, and I don't mean that with all due respect. It's just, I've had some of his other knives and they're fantastic. I just don't care for this design. I don't think it's a right size for my hand. I'm glad I experienced it. I'm glad I can confirm it because I was very close on the fence thinking I should buy this, and I'm glad I never did. I would have been very disappointed. I would have sold it. Yeah. I knew there was some hesitation for a reason. So yeah, I'm not going to recommend it. That's my thoughts. I mean, if you disagree with me, please comment down below. Let me know why. Maybe you have some good points of saying, hey, what about this? What about that? I'd love to hear it. I really would. And I would respect those opinions and just let you know. Thank you for that. And, you know, if you have any questions about this knife, my review, please let me know anything about the channel. I'd love to hear from you. Hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, entertaining, or informative, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to grow, allows the channel to produce more content, ultimately do more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to every one of you who watches the videos, who likes the videos, and who subscribes. I appreciate you all very, very much. And if you've done all that, maybe consider hitting the notification button so you can be notified of future video content, whether even if you like or don't like, right? So, I mean, you may disagree with me. I'm okay with that. That's all right. We don't have to agree on everything. It's totally fine. Hey, and if you're a channel member, I want to just say thank you. Thank you to every one of my channel members out there. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you to you guys. And if you haven't already, maybe you've been on the fence, you want to consider being a channel member, check out the link down below in the description. There is a link to become a member. I would love to have you. I'd love to have you, and I'd be honored. If you want to join me along this crazy journey this knife exploration. I would love to have you be part of that and allow the channel to grow, do more things. It would be such a great honor. I really would. And hey, there's different things like special emojis and once a month channel giveaways and special stickers and all that sorts of stuff depending on the tier that you're in. I would love to have you, but please don't ever feel like you have to be a channel member to be a part of this channel. If you're just a regular subscriber and content viewer, I appreciate you. I just wanted to make that opportunity available because some people would love to be a channel member. And hey, I appreciate it for those who do. I just don't want anybody ever to feel like you ever have to. And so thank you to you guys. Appreciate you all. Finally, if you haven't already, maybe check me out over on Instagram. If I can get the card, I will find it eventually. Here we go. All right. Hey, also check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.